Welcome to week 4 of college football and Parlay People. We're excited to have you. Don't want to take too much of your time. We're willing to show you what we're willing to bet on, what you should be watching, and all the new trends of what to see. Currently, Parlay People stands documented on this podcast as well as our subscription, ParlayPeoples at Instagram.com at 53 and 23. Also with the over-unders 23 and 12 with the spreads at 48 and 18. If you're following other people, do not. This is your only source. This is your resolution. This is everything you need to make your Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, whatever day it is that we're betting profitable as well as enjoyable and also have the best resolution. I don't need to go against my competition, but hey, why not call them out? Point-wise right now stands at 56 and 63. You don't need a calculator to see you're not making any money. They're charging you money. Come over here for free. On to the bets for the week. We're going to separate the segments. I know last couple weeks I've been giving you a lot of in-depth knowledge on everything from college football, MLB, NCAA football, but we want to give you just the bets that we have currently right now. Time is money. Lines do change, so we want to get you on this right now. To start off, our first bets would be UCF minus 11.5 at Pitt. We have road UCF every single week. They are going to continue to kick ass. They're on one of our best bets following last week, which we'll go over later. But UCF 11.5 minus at home versus Pitt. It's an early game. I see UCF winning by at least 17 to 18 points on this game, so ride that hard. We also have up next Washington State minus 18.5. They did hurt us. They're on one of our bad beats of last week, but we don't give up on the teams that we know can win. There was a lot of weird calls, a lot of bullshit from that Friday night game. Don't worry, Washington State makes it back for us, minus 18.5 versus UCLA. Up next, in our local town, not riding the home team, Utah State minus 4 at SDSU. I love SDSU, been watching them, going to games since Marshall Falk days. My dad's been alumni, family, uncles, you name it. My sister currently goes there. But at the same time, we cannot ride on our heart. That's what Parlay People's all about, differentiating the heart, going the straight gut of the pick. Screw what you believe, screw what you love. It's all about what the best bet is. And right now, I think that Utah State will smack SDSU in the face. Utah State had a tough loss to start the season. At the same time, they covered the spread, and they will come back hard and start off their conference victory right off the bat and demolish SDSU at home. Followed by that is LSU minus 23 at Vanderbilt. Good SEC matchup. I love the coach from Vanderbilt. At the same time, LSU's offense is probably top 10 in the country. Their quarterback, which they've been longing for decades, is finally here. I think that LSU gets the job done. Look for this win to be in the high 20s to maybe low 30s and demolishing Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt. Followed by that, we have a Thursday night game. Jump on it while it's hot. I wish I could have got out sooner, but I had to do my research. Tulane versus Houston. Tulane is a very good team. Houston, as you can see, we've either bet against them or bet with them, but mostly against them the last couple weeks. They've still produced offense. I think they're going to continue to produce offense. Good in-conference matchup. Look for that to go over 56. Jump on it now. Followed by that, another in-conference matchup. This is a Big 12 rivalry. We have Oklahoma State, who we've been riding each week. They did disappoint on the over, but hey, let's get it again. Oklahoma State at Texas, over 73 points. Texas, if you've been watching them, has been scoring a ton of points, over 44 a game. That's the combined average that they're doing. Also, we have Oklahoma State scoring a ton of points, which we've been riding as well. It's kind of a hard game to judge because I love both teams, but that's why you got to bet on both teams right now and take the over of 73. Followed by that is another team we've been either betting on or betting against is Tulsa versus Wyoming, over 44 points. Both teams are nothing too spectacular, but I think for a good matchup, and also both teams should easily surpass over 20, getting the over 44 done. Followed by that, we have UConn plus 27.5 at Indiana. We bet Ohio State last week. I hope you rode that with us. That was an easy win. Look for the same results. UConn, if you didn't follow earlier in the year, they're 1-1. They did last game play Illinois pretty tough. Had a bye week since then. Had some rest. But in that game, when they played Illinois, they gave up only 31 points to a Big Ten team. Illinois and Indiana are very similar. Indiana probably does have the notch just a little bit more, when it comes to the quality and the results they can produce. But at the same time, for Illinois to only win that game by 7 points and for Indiana to be minus 27, I just don't see it unless there's some kids that have been injured that they're not announcing yet. Ride UConn plus 27.5. Look for that game by Saturday, I bet to be in the 25 range because the public will be betting it hard and bringing that line down. Followed by that, we have University of Texas -5 versus Oklahoma State. I love the city of Austin. I love betting on Texas. I don't do it very often. When I do, I'm very confident in it. Oklahoma State is another team I've been riding every single week, so it's very hard for me to go against them. But at the same time, games in Austin. If it was in Oklahoma State, it could be a different factor. Another thing that most people probably won't realize is that Texas has lost 4 out of the last 5 years to Oklahoma State. I don't see that trend continuing. As good as Texas has been and where they're trying to go this year, they're still ranked very high. But I think Oklahoma State's going to get a rude awakening. They haven't played as spectacular. They only won by 19 points last week to a Tulsa. Even though we did ride that -14. Look for Texas, I think, to get the job done at home. Not going to blow them out by 15 or so, but I think they can easily cover by 9 to 8 to 10 points around that range. Next up, we do have Tulsa. Speaking of Tulsa, we've already mentioned them before on the over. We're going to ride them again -3 versus Wyoming. I'm not sold on Wyoming. The bettors are, I guess, or Vegas is. The line stayed pretty consistent since the opening. Tulsa -3, I like a lot. I think we should definitely ride that again. Tulsa's already paid us before. Ride it again. Let's see what we do. Followed by that, we have Houston +5 at Tulane. Houston is a really great offense. De'Aaron King, the quarterback, is phenomenal. Very good athletic kid. Knows the system. Tulane has brought a little bit more to the table than most people expected when it comes to their preseason rankings. But I think that at home +5 is not enough for Tulane. I think that Houston could backdoor this and possibly win the game. So look for Houston +5 to be a good bet to start your weekend. As mentioned, we already took the over. Parlay it, separate it, do whatever you want. But I think that either way, both of those bets are really solid bets. Followed by that, we have Arkansas -21 versus San Jose State. Earlier in the year, we did bet against San Jose State with Tulsa. So I think San Jose State is nothing worth betting on. You really can't rely on them. Arkansas, at the same time, their defense is suspect. They did put up a lot of points last week. They beat a Colorado State team who is much better than San Jose State. They beat them by almost 20 points. Colorado State is a lot better, even though I just said it's the same kind of quality. But being that it's at Arkansas, San Jose State has to travel there. Good luck. Arkansas, maybe they don't blow away in the first half, but they get the job done, covering the 21. Followed by the Ohio State. We've been betting Ohio State in any way, shape, or form every single week. Ohio State versus Miami of Ohio. In-state game, not a rivalry, in-state game. I hope that the respect factor doesn't come into play too much. I hope they beat the living shit out of them. Spread's 39, maybe 38, depending on where you're betting. I haven't officially really wanted to lean towards that. If they do, they would cover by 1 or 2. So I guess I would go that way. But in general, I think the over 58 is a good solid bet. Ride that, see where it goes, and definitely more to come. I want to get these out quickly. Like I said, I know time is valuable. Follow the Instagram podcast, of course. We're going to be putting out more bets. I know we've been putting out 20-plus bets a week and hitting over 65% combined. The first 2 weeks, 70-plus. Last week, a down week, which is still most would brag about as a successful, amazing, spectacular week at 64%, going 16-9. Right now, we just want to go over last week again, not to promote or gloat. We also do go over where we made mistakes, but still at the same time, you know, everybody everybody has bad beats. I bet you watch ESPN, so you see the show. But going to our best bets where we look great, Ohio State minus 15.5 at Indiana. They won by 41 points. I hope you wrote it. If not, you got scared or cold feet. UCF minus 7.5. You hear that name a lot. I've been writing it for years. I'm going to keep writing until the wheels fall off. Minus 7.5. Won by 18. Even though they won by 18, they were up by 30 plus in the game. Stanford had no business being in the same stadium. Traveled all the way to get there to get their asses kicked. They had Costello back. We didn't care. We still rode it hard. Next up, Oklahoma minus 22.5. Another one that really, even though they won by 34, really was never close. This game was 34-7 at halftime. So, great game. Way to go, Oklahoma. UCLA, again, we're betting against you to shit the bed, which, if it was a basketball, I'd be rooting for you, but football, no bueno. Next up, SMU minus 17. They won by 30. Great game. Nobody was riding that. SMU line somehow opened at 17, stayed at 17. I believe that could have been up 20 something. I still would have bet it. So way to go, SMU. Also, Liberty. We guessed that exact score on the podcast last week. I said 52 points. They scored 50. It's the under is easy. Liberty 3 weeks in a row under. I wish they were playing again. I would be willing to bet the under. We'll follow them next week. I'm probably sure we're going to keep that trend going. Next games we want to go over, which is ones that we didn't cover on what we're going to bet on. Remember, follow the podcast, follow the Instagram. We have more bets to come. I would assume on these next 5 games I'm going to tell you to keep an eye on. I will give some insight as to where we're going to be betting. But the games to discuss would be Utah at USC. That line is currently at 4. I've been talking a lot about Utah. I love Utah. They have a great defensive team. A lot of guys are going to be playing on Sunday in the next couple of years. USC had a bad break, got beat at BYU. If you watched it in overtime, they should have ran the ball, did a wild throw, got picked off, ended the game. If you don't recall, though, to start the season, Utah did beat BYU by 18, maybe 19 points. We had that game on. We won money on that game. So Utah is nothing spectacular on offense, but they are a phenomenal defensive team. They control the game. They can put up 500, 600 yards and only score 30 points. It's kind of very rare. But look for Utah to maybe cover that, but still wait for my advice coming soon. Next up, SMU at TCU. SMU's been very good offensively. TCU won its money last week. So look for SMU at TCU, in-state rivalry, Texas boys battling it out. Next up, we have Auburn at Texas A&M. Great SEC matchup. Spread is currently at 3, maybe 4, depending on where you're betting. I think we're going to give some information on that. Stay tuned. Most likely be on the Instagram account, ParlayPeople at Instagram. Next up would be Washington at BYU. Another great game. Spread is at 6.5. Washington burned us week 1, or week 2, I believe it was, when they played Cal. But at the same time, look for that. Maybe I have some information on that. Notre Dame at Georgia. I know my brother and others in the family that are Catholic or redheads or whatever they may be are riding Notre Dame. I could care less for Notre Dame, but I hope Georgia kicks their ass. Go Georgia. Probably maybe going to lean towards Notre Dame, though, plus the 14. The under-over is standing at 58, 59, depending on where you're betting. Stay tuned. We'll give you some insight on that game as well. Our bad beats, like I said, we don't like to, defer to where we were wrong or right. We like to brag, but also like to still show you kind of some bad beats that we had. I bet you watched the show. Bama minus 25. We were covering that game. We were up 30 plus points, looking great. A roughing the passer call on 4th down with less than a minute to go made the play extend where South Carolina had one last play, threw a touchdown in the end zone, yada, yada, yada. We lost by 1 point. Alabama winning by 24, us losing by 1 on the spread. Next up was Washington State. That was Friday. Luckily, we still carried a lot of victories into that weekend. But Washington State was winning again, gave up a touchdown with less than 2 minutes, I believe, winning only by 7 points, even though the spread was 8.5. I hope you got it early. Maybe you pushed, but still, we lost by 1.5 on what we advised. Oklahoma State over 65, lost that by 3. So as you can add it up, 5 points separated us from going 19-6, even though we still went 16-9. Still a great week, over 64%. Ride us again. We got a lot of great victories for you to cash in on. In closing, we will give our NFL picks probably tomorrow. Worst case scenario, Friday. Look for another podcast, or as mentioned, follow us on Instagram. Currently, our NFL record stands at 6-2. That is 75% if you can't do the math or don't have a calculator. Still really good results all around the table. I hope you can join us again. Subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on Instagram. Don't put your money in dog shit advice. Here, we give you the great results. We give you the expert analysis. And we give you the best in the business. Thanks again for joining us. Have a great week. Make that money.